Hey, good afternoon and welcome back to episode 2 of Clean Slate, a show here on Rebel Sports Network where we'll be discussing the weekly slate of NFL games. This week, I'm joined by Marcus Miles and Matt Canigliaro. Guys, this week's slate of games was jam-packed with exciting action in the NFL. Let's jump over to Thursday Night Football where the Niners upset the Rams at home 23-20 in overtime. This was an absolute duel between quarterbacks. Mac Jones and Matt Stafford had very similar box scores on the stat sheet. Mac Jones went 33 for 49 with 342 yards and 3 touchdowns. Matt Stafford 30 for 47, 389 yards and 3 touchdowns. Guys, what are your big takeaways from this game?
I mean, for me, first of all, I just want to say for Niners fans, shout out to Eddie Pinheiro. He hit 4 field goals, including a career-long 59-yarder late in the fourth quarter. And he also hit the game winner from 41, giving the 49ers a steady presence in the kicking game that they have not had. I've seen a Niners fan on Twitter saying, you know, if this game was last year, they do not feel confident in winning that game. And I think the addition of having a kicker in the kicking game that can give you a steady presence, like you see for the Cowboys, as soon as they cross the 50 with Brandon Aubrey, they feel confident that they have points. And I feel like they're slowly gaining that with Eddie Pinheiro for the Niners, and I feel like that's wonderful for them.
Yeah, honestly, I agree. It just seemed like another classic NFC West matchup. You know, it's going to come down to the very end. I think the Rams tied it right at the end before the Niners ended up beating them in overtime. You know, one thing I actually like, though, was that Mac Jones is throwing to absolutely nobody out there. You know, you got Ayuk still on the IR, Pearsall's out, yeah. Kittle. I think is still on IR, if I'm not mistaken.
I hate to cut you off, but I do think a star was born, no pun intended. He had Kendrick Bourne had 10 catches for 142 yards, which was a career high. He was huge for the Niners offense. He stepped in and filled that void in the passing game wonderfully. And I feel like, honestly, just the Niners are one of the most impressive teams. I feel like Shanahan has to be the favorite for Coach of the Year at this point so far. He has the Niners 4-1. They have Kittle's played 1 game. Bosa's out for the year. Purdy's missed 3 starts and might miss more. He has to be the Coach of the Year in my eyes.
Guys, what really stands out to me in this game is the way, even though the Niners were missing pretty much all of their stars, playing with absolute, let's say, nobodies on offense.
Pretty much everyone but Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, only 2 Pro Bowlers on offense in Kyle Juszczyk and Christian McCaffrey. They still controlled the ball the majority of the game. Their time of possession was 40 minutes and 4 seconds compared to the Rams' 26 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah. So that really speaks to, just like you say, Marcus, the level of coaching Kyle Shanahan is doing, developing these young players into future stars. But guys, you know what other game also ended in 23-20 was another upset. Patriots defeat the Bills, upset them at home, and officially knock off the last undefeated team in the league. Drake May went out there. You know, he did an okay job. He didn't ball out. He didn't throw any touchdowns. 22 for 30 and 273 yards. But this was a Stephon Diggs revenge game all the way. 10 catches for 146 yards. He was balling out.
Yeah, and what I liked most about Drake May is he made there was that play, I think it was late in the game, where he's on the run, he's rolling out right, and he hits Diggs on the sideline. And it was one of the best throws I've seen this season. And like you said, he didn't have any touchdowns, but he also didn't have any turnovers. So he's doing what he needs to do to get the ball down the field. And then also Ramondre Stevenson, 7 rushes for 14 yards. Not great on the box score there, but 2 touchdowns.
Yeah.
So
a goal line menace.
Yeah, you kind of hawk a touchdown from your quarterback. You know, one of those could have very well gone to Drake May, but also lost another fumble this week. So he's got to hold on to the ball.
Absolutely. Flipping over to the Bills side, I thought they were really sloppy. Josh Allen apparently agrees with me. He, quote unquote, he said, we just played sloppy. We just did not play good tonight. I think that was absolutely a fact. I first want to give credit, though, to the Patriots defense. Starting the game off, you know, the Bills have pretty much the best rushing attack in the NFL so far this season. And the Patriots held them to 3.2 yards per carry. And they did that by adding an extra defensive tackle in their 3-4 fronts. And that allowed them to then stop the run, which caused the Bills to pivot to a spread offense, which allowed Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis to really step up and have a huge game defensively. And I thought their defense was spectacular, and it's a statement for Mike Vrabel as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Mike Vrabel, former defensive lineman, definitely knows a thing or two about stopping the run.
Absolutely.
Anyways, guys, let's jump back across the pond where the Vikings are still in Europe, where they hosted the Browns in London, and they spoiled Dylan Gabriel's debut, 21-17. The Browns were this close to becoming absolute menaces of the NFC North. They've already knocked off the Packers. They were 30 seconds away from knocking off the Vikings as well until Jordan Addison caught that clutch touchdown.
Yeah. Loved the Jordan Addison touchdown at the end of the game that won me a fantasy matchup as well, so thank you. But, I really liked what I saw out of Dillon Gabriel. All year, everything you hear is Shedeur Sanders this, Shedeur Sanders that. Gabriel comes in, goes 19 of 33, 190, 2 touchdowns, no picks, I don't think he had a fumble. Quinshon Judkins, also another Browns rookie, Ohio State, 23 rushes for 110 yards.
Yeah.
He's got 4.8 yards per carry. Also 1 reception, 18 yards, no turnovers as well. So a clean game from their young players. I feel encouraged watching if I were a Browns fan, I would feel encouraged moving forward, with the young players they have in place. They actually just got traded Joe Flacco to the Bengals today, so you don't have that veteran presence kind of waiting in the wings to take his job back. It's pretty much Gabriel and Sanders moving forward now, which, I'm sure the Shedeur fans will continue to speak.
Speak their minds for sure.
I'm sure by the end of the year, we probably will see Shedeur taking some snaps. Like you said, Dillon Gabriel played a clean game, 19 of 33 for 190 and 2 touchdowns. But just the decision-making is still a little slow.
Yeah.
The legs are still a little static. Obviously he's a young rookie quarterback, and so is his backup. But I think by the end of the year, we should be able to see Shedeur take some snaps.
Most definitely.
Can we show? I hate to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Can we show a little bit of love to Carson Wentz?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
He deserves it.
Absolute redemption story. He went 9 for 9 on that 10-play, 80-yard drive, capped with that touchdown to Jordan Addison. He finished the night 25 of 34, 236 yards. I feel like you can't ask for more from him specifically. And I also wanted to give a shout out to the Vikings offensive line. They've had mighty struggles this season so far. They've allowed 18 sacks coming into the game. The first half against the Browns, against a Myles Garrett-led defensive line, that was the first half all season that they did not allow a sack. So I want to give them a huge shout out. They definitely held up against a great defensive line, and they deserve a lot of credit as well.
Most definitely.
Didn't hold up too well, though. The Vikings did lose those 2 fumbles and still managed to win the game. The Browns, I'm a Steelers fan, guys. The Browns are always going to be the Browns, in my eyes. But anyway, a lot of matching scores around the league this week. Just like we said, Vikings-Browns ended in 21-17. So did the Broncos and the Eagles, knocking off another undefeated team, another upset at home for an undefeated team. Bo Nix leads a fourth quarter comeback from down 3-17, and he goes on 3 scoring drives in a row, 2 touchdowns and a field goal to take the lead for the Broncos.
Yeah, as a New York Giants fan, nothing brings me more pleasure than watching the Eagles lose. Maybe the Cowboys.
Likewise, as a Cowboys fan, you don't have to
See,
throw
we can
shade
agree
my
on
team,
something.
man.
We can agree on
We can meet the middle ground somewhere.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Exactly.
But honestly, it was a great game. I don't think the sky is falling for Philly at all. It was just an ugly game. They didn't really get A.J. Brown or Saquon Barkley involved too much. I did see that Saquon's on the injury report now, so I'm not sure what his.
Well, he did have that one 47-yard passing touchdown.
Sure. Yeah, which once again, like we were talking about with Drake May, where if you have a 47-yard receiving touchdown, I don't really care if you only had 40 yards rushing, because you're making up for it in the passing game. But like I said, sky's not falling. It was just, honestly, I think it was just a signature win for Denver that we're going to be talking about later in the season.
I do think this game kind of did highlight the struggles for the Philly offense, though. Saquon hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game yet after breaking 2,000 yards last year, having an MVP caliber season, ended up on the Madden cover, won the Super Bowl. Philly didn't score a single point on their final 5 drives either. We saw the controversy over A.J. Brown's body language, over Hurts missing him for the touchdown. This was also the first time since September 16th, 2024, that the Eagles have lost a game at home.
Only their second loss in the last 22 games.
Yeah, we cannot understate how huge it is to see Philly go down at home coming off that Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's definitely impressive for the Broncos. A lot of credit to Bo Nix. He definitely had a couple of overthrows, but he played a pretty solid game other than that.
This game feels to me a little bit like an experiment by Sirianni. I feel like he heard the complaints by his receiving core. They only rushed the ball. They only had 11 rushing attempts. So obviously they're going for a pass-centric offense. They only had 45 rushing yards, and it didn't work out. You saw in the last play of the game. I hate to speculate again on what goes on in that locker room. I don't know, but I really want to know what the conversation is between A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith after A.J. Brown essentially plays defense on his own teammate who could have caught that game-winning Hail Mary touchdown.
Must be a lot of controversy going on in that locker room right now, especially with Kevin Patula as well. I know there's a lot of frustration with him. They're coming there every year. It feels like there's frustration with the Eagles offensive coordinator, but I feel like this year is the peak, and I'm curious to see, do we see a midseason change?
Yeah.
You know, I wouldn't think so. I think, especially when you're coming off a Super Bowl and they lost one game. You know, we don't need to fire everybody and trade Jalen Hurts and all this stuff.
Yeah, but Kellen Moore was the offensive coordinator.
Right, and you know, he got some good production out of that team. But I think Nick Sirianni's the type of coach where he sees everything on social media that people are saying, like, we need to run the ball more, we need to throw it to A.J. Brown, and then does the opposite. Just to mess with them, spite. He just seems like
that's the Philadelphia mentality.
We're gonna win anyways. Sure. We'll run everybody. You know, I forgot who their backup now is. I know Miles Sanders left. Someone else, but
Kenneth Gainwell.
Yeah, Kenny Gainwell.
No, Kenny Gainwell's over on the Steelers.
Yeah, he left too.
He left too. Yeah, matter of fact, who is their backup now?
I don't think it matters. Because they have Saquon Barkley.
I saw Will Shipley get a couple snaps in there.
No, I feel like it's a running back by committee. I do think they need a second presence, though. Kenneth Gainwell was huge for them. I feel like he did a great job.
They traded for Tank Bigsby.
And you did mention that Saquon had made that Madden cover. I think it's very safe to say the Madden cover curse is real.
It's a curse, absolutely.
I think only one player has gone. One or two players, and I think it was because Mahomes got hurt too. But I don't think he
won the Super
missed
Bowl
games. But I think only one or two players since they've started putting a player on it hasn't gotten hurt the next season.
Speaking of Mahomes, guys, jumping over to that Monday Night Football game, another upset. Like I said, the Week 2 slate, or the Week 5 slate was filled with absolute action-packed.
A lot of good games.
Yeah.
Even the bad teams.
The Jaguars upset the Chiefs. What was the score again? 31-28. 31-28. And if you would have told me at the beginning of the year that the Jaguars and the Colts were going to be the ones battling it out for first place in the AFC, both of them sitting at 4-1 after Week 5, I would have thought you were talking about Madden.
Yeah, this is like a Madden simulation at its finest right now.
The
wonkiest of things. You know, Daniel Jones is out here playing like a top 5 quarterback. You have T. Law leading game-winning drives against a Patrick Mahomes-led team. Like, we're living in a crazy time. But going to the Chiefs, I feel like their defense was the story of that game. They had multiple mistakes. You know, Jalen Watson missed that pass breakup on the Lawrence 33-yard completion to Brian Thomas Jr. Connell had that defensive pass interference on the Brian Cook interception. And then there were missed tackles on Lawrence, along with questionable effort from a couple of stars, including Chris Jones on that touchdown.
Yeah, especially that game-winning touchdown.
Yeah.
He absolutely had a chance to stop them, and let's keep it real, guys. He gave up mid-play.
More than once. I mean, Trevor Lawrence fell down not once but twice.
For being the guy who's always on social media and trying to make it a point about effort, he definitely needs to look in the mirror after that play specifically.
Most definitely. I think it was just one of those games where the football gods had other things in mind for the Chiefs. You know, Patrick Mahomes throws a 99-yard pick six.
That was a great Devin Lloyd.
The Devin Lloyd, a linebacker. Not something you see. I don't think that happens once per season. Patrick Mahomes probably doesn't throw a pick six, let alone a 99-yard pick six. And then for Trevor Lawrence to fall down twice on that game-winning touchdown run and still make it in. The football god just had other things in mind. Honestly.
Absolutely. Mahomes wasn't even bad that game either. You know, he had 318 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had the 1 pick. But, I mean, more so the story of it has to be the defense. They just need to step it up in my eyes.
Yeah. Well, let's wipe the slate clean, guys. Let's look over to Week 6. On Thursday night, the Eagles will be traveling to New York to face the Giants, where the Eagles are only 7.5-point favorites.
Only. Giants are going to lose that game. They might look good at times. They might have a few good drives, but that's going to be a tune-up game for the Eagles because they're going to come in pretty upset about losing to who they lost to. So.
Do you think the Eagles cover the spread?
To the Broncos.
The Broncos, sorry. Do I think the Eagles? Yeah, probably. I think it's going to be a double-digit win for the Eagles. And that's coming from someone who watches a lot of Giants football, unfortunately.
And
So.
speaking of who just beat the Eagles, the Broncos are also traveling to New York to face the Jets, where they are also 7.5-point favorites. Definitely feels like they're on top of the world right now. They just beat the team to beat in the league.
Yes,
I also see them covering the spread in this one. Another game that stands out to me is going to be that Sunday night football game where the Detroit Lions travel to Kansas City. And yeah, I feel like the Chiefs absolutely have something to prove. Anytime you lose to a team like the Jacksonville Jaguars, you come out the next week and you have a chip on your shoulder, right? I feel like this needs to be a mistake-free game. Like you said, Chris Jones and his defense needs to step up in this game because the Lions do have a very potent offense.
Absolutely. Truth be told, I think that's a must-win for the Chiefs at this point. Sitting at 2-3, they're kind of teetering in the AFC West. I feel like if they want to be the team that they want to be this season, they need to come out and make a statement this game.
I think the difference between 2-4 and 3-3 is much more than a 2-game swing.
Absolutely.
It is a big deal to be 2-4 in the AFC right now.
Another team with a target on their back and a chip on their shoulder with something to prove are the Baltimore Ravens, who will host the Los Angeles Rams next week, where the Rams are 7.5-point favorites. This one I can see going either way. It all depends on Lamar Jackson's health. If he's in the game. Yeah, if he's not playing, then I do see the Rams covering that 7.5-point spread because, guys, the Baltimore Ravens they're the hospital team of the league right now.
Six starters.
Yeah,
right now.
they're the
insane.
hospital team of the league right now, absolutely. But to get stomped 44 to 10 by the Texans,
It was a shellacking.
It was
honestly.
crazy. C.J. Stroud had as many touchdowns as he did incompletions.
Yeah.
Wow.
You're not going to win a game like
You
that.
can't. To be a Super Bowl contender, something has to change. I understand they're unhealthy, but usually, as a Harbaugh-led team, even with injuries, they're usually able to compete. There's something deeper going on that they have to figure out.
I think, honestly, it has a lot to do with, and I don't want to throw any shade towards Cooper Rush, but what similarities does he have to Lamar Jackson's game? Besides the fact that they both play the quarterback position. So your quarterback, Lamar Jackson, all-world talent, essentially your lightning to Derrick Henry's thunder, and Cooper Rush backs him up. What is Cooper Rush going to offer you that Lamar Jackson can? Like he's just going to stand in the pocket and throw subpar passes. I think they need someone to back up Lamar Jackson who complements his game, so you don't have to completely change your offense midweek for your backup quarterback.
Absolutely.
Last game I want to talk about, guys. The Bears are traveling to Washington to face the Commanders, where the Commanders are 4.5-point favorites. And I feel like the Commanders are probably on top of the world right now. They just beat the Chargers. Is low-key a recreation of the college careers of the quarterbacks of those teams, where Jaden Daniels upset Justin Herbert and ended his playoff run in college, and then he just upset them again this last Sunday. The Commanders are feeling on top of the world, and the Bears are coming in. They're a young, hungry team with something to prove. This feels a little bit like a trap game to me.
Yeah, I think the Bears could sneak in and get a W there. Coming off a bye week,
Bears are
they're going to be nice and
100%
rested.
a dangerous team. We just seen them put a molly-whopping on Dallas not too long ago, 31-14. They're a dangerous team. They're a team that you cannot count out by any means. They have a lot of playmakers. They're a young team, so they're obviously very bipolar, inconsistent. But when they're on, they're dangerous.
Yeah, they are.
Honestly, both Monday night games next week feel like a trap game to me because the Bills are traveling down to Atlanta. And this seems on paper like Josh Allen should go down there and absolutely run the show. But they just got upset. They have something to prove. But Michael Penix, he's so inconsistent. You never know whether he's going to put up 0 points on the scoreboard or put 30 up on the scoreboard. So I'm excited to watch that one and see what happens as well.
Yeah, I think the Falcons can come in and score some points, but that all depends because the Falcons are the same team that lost to the Panthers like 30-0 a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
But I think they rebounded from that game, scoring 30 points to win the game decisively the following week. So it's like you said, it's which Falcons team are you going to get? Are you going to get the team that looks like they could vie for a wild card spot, or a team that's going to be drafting top 10 this year? Either or.
Absolutely.
Well, guys, that's about all the time we have for this episode of Clean Slate. Once again, I'm Gabriel Goddard, joined by Marcus Miles and Matt Canigliaro. Guys, thank you for coming on the show this week. We'll see you again next Saturday. Be sure to tune in to all shows here on the Rebel Sports Network, and we'll see you next week.